for the ones who care.
Okay, what's going on, people? Welcome back to another video. My name is hughwizzy, and I'm really sorry about the delay in videos. I've been away in Barcelona doing some pretty epic stuff, watching Las Palmas, training at the official training ground, and playing with the likes of Rivaldo. Incredible scenes. We've got a lot of catching up to do, though. As I say, it's taken me a little while to get this all together, simply because I've had a lot of catching up to do. I'm not one of these guys who just likes to watch match of the day and feel like it's okay for me to comment, like I know what's actually been going on. I actually like to watch all the games that I possibly can from front to back and do my own little studying notes and really have a full grasp of exactly what's been going on. So we'll start with Everton against Manchester City, which was for me one of the most brilliant games to watch. So much so that I already knew after a minute in, even though I knew the result, having missed it by basically going to watch Barcelona against Las Palmas, I knew immediately that City were going to struggle. They looked incredibly nervous, passing unnecessarily at the back, which seems to be something that Guardiola is obviously stuck on, but putting themselves under so much immense pressure from the get-go that ultimately it was going to tell if they didn't take their chances. I do feel that they were very unlucky in certain circumstances with Raheem Sterling, who for me in the first half was absolutely brilliant, as was Kevin De Bruyne in picking him out 2 or 3 times, picking out David Silva, giving them fantastic opportunities. But a refereeing decision went against them when Sterling was brought down. He was clearly brought down by Robles. Penalty wasn't given, and the game really did change soon after that. Not immediately, it has to be said, because De Bruyne did pick him out again from very close range, and he couldn't finish. Neither could David Silva, and ultimately they pay the price. Very impressed with Ashley Williams again. He's consistently shown himself to be a fantastic leader. He is basically teaching this guy, Holgate and Funes Mori, and is the exact type of player, the exact type of centre-back that Manchester City require for the likes of Otamendi and especially John Stones to be able to learn from it. Tactically, there is no better manager out there to understand and counter what Guardiola is doing than Koeman. Koeman, obviously a roommate of Guardiola's at Barcelona. He understands him better than most people on the planet do, and he's set up brilliantly. With the likes of Davies giving that real agility, that young inspiration. He's still hungry to achieve things in his career. He's very quick. And the likes of Coleman, Barkley, Mirallas, Baines. This is top quality movement in and around the middle, which is the opposite of what Manchester City had to offer. All of them are physically very strong. Davies, he's bulked up so much in the last couple of years, it's absolutely brilliant, and he showed that strength to be incredibly important. On the counter, Everton looked fantastic as well. When you think of this setup, it looks like it's 3 at the back. It's actually fucking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at the back at times, if you ask me, because Davies and Barry can push back. Coleman is basically playing at right wing back. Baines is at left wing back, and then you've got the 3 centre defenders there as well. They were defensively brilliant, and then on the counter, they're incredibly quick with the likes of Davies, Coleman, Baines, all very quick and getting those balls through quickly to Barkley, who looked brilliant throughout. Lukaku and Mirallas as well, both strong, powerful, quick. Right, let's change the focus to Manchester City, and there's problems all over the place if you ask me. I'll start with Bravo. Obviously, Pep Guardiola was initially going for Ter Stegen from Barcelona, couldn't get his hands on him, as opted for Bravo, which to me has proven to be a catastrophic mistake. He is not comfortable in one-on-ones whatsoever. He does not command his area. He is even nervous on the ball, I would suggest. He's talked about as being this pass master who can act as the first line of attack, but I'll be honest, he doesn't command his area at all. He's looked very, very uncomfortable when he does have the ball. His distribution is bang average, if you ask me, and that is meant to be his main strength, because one-on-ones he's absolutely fucking useless. I think his save percentage is 34%, and that is the worst in the Premier League right now. Lucas Fabianski is in 19th out of the top 20 goalkeepers. Bravo 20% behind him with something like 34% save accuracy. It's just absolutely laughable. Then you've got John Stones, who is inexperienced, still learning, not quite as strong as he should be. He's still very impressive and comfortable on the ball, and I do like the guy, and I will back him, especially because he's a young Englishman, still making his name out there. But that cannot be the only reason that you get behind a guy. And if you've got someone who's as inexperienced as him, You need a real leader next to him. And this guy is not a leader in any way, shape or form. He is actually a sideman. In fact, you've got two sidemen next to each other. Not fucking YouTubers, but these guys are both sidemen in the fact that they need someone incredibly experienced and physical next to them to be able to do what they like to do, which is play the ball out slowly, at feet, on the ground. And Otamendi requires someone like Vincent Kompany. So does John Stones, like Vincent Kompany, who is going to be a massive miss and is proving to be so, especially when you've got the likes of this doofus, Gael Clichy, who's absolutely finished at the top level, doesn't have the pace that he once had, which is what he was basically living off, and doesn't have the confidence to go round a man, to take it down to the byline and whip it in anymore, and is constantly looking to go back, forcing incredible pressure on the likes of Otamendi, Stones and Bravo, unnecessarily. And you could tell that in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game when they weren't able to do anything out of their own half, and the pressure that Everton puts on them with a high press, and actually being able to sit back as well and give them 70% of the possession throughout the game really was telling, as they caught them on the counter and exposed the likes of Zabaleta, who is by no means a fucking midfielder, and Pep has kind of been forced into playing there, especially since the likes of Gundogan is out, Fernandinho, who's one of the most impressive defensive midfielders, or box-to-box, whatever you call them, midfielders in the Premier League last year and the Champions League last year. Don't forget, they did beat Barcelona. They were showing signs of progression this side. But if you put an old age pensioner like Yaya Toure next to a guy like Zabaleta in the midfield, and you're thinking that defensively you're going to be able to get away with it with Stones and Otamendi, and an aging Bacary Sagna who's in the last legs of his career, you're having a fucking laugh. So I do think that David Silva at times looks fantastic, although he was put through by De Bruyne a couple of times and should have finished. Raheem Sterling to me was absolutely brilliant in the first half, but unable to, one, capitalise on the two opportunities that De Bruyne gave to him, but also was denied a clear-cut penalty, which I think totally changed the game and the attitude of these players. And also, finally, for the fucking umpteenth time, I've told you already, Sergio Aguero is not offering what he can do at this level. His mind is elsewhere. He's getting married. He's having another kid. He doesn't give a shit anymore, or at least he's not showing the aggression, the hunger that he was earlier, even in the season. Never mind last few seasons that we've seen him being one of the best, most clinical finishers in world football. And when you put all that together, Pep's got problems. He's being thrown to the lions, rightly so or not, he's being thrown to the lions when people who aren't really giving this much attention and are just watching fucking Match of the Day and then thinking that they know what the fuck is going on. They're not looking deep enough into thinking that, yes, he's spent nearly 100 million or whatever it was this season on the likes of Sane and Stones. But no, are you telling me that those were the guys that Pep Guardiola thought was going to win in the league? Sane, are we having a fucking laugh here? Are we thinking that this is going to win you the Premier League? This back five is going to win you the Premier League? This back six even? Zabaleta, Toure, you're having a laugh. Guardiola dropped Toure because he knew that he didn't have the fucking legs to go on, and that has continued to show itself. Right, now this is 2 minutes into the game, not even 2 minutes into the game, and I was watching this and thinking, fucking hell, they are literally playing into Everton's hands. Do they not realise what they are doing? These guys are pressing very high. You've got Ross Barkley, here you've got Morelos, and here you've got Lukaku. And they are closing down on Otamendi, who doesn't have the confidence to go forward and is only thinking about passing back to Yaya Toure, who's thinking about passing back to Bravo, who's thinking about passing to Stones. John Stones being pressed right into the corner flag. He's just been played the ball here from Kevin De Bruyne, who's been forced back by Davies, who's putting immense pressure on him. Yaya Toure is pointing back to Bravo, where he wants Stones to pass to. He's being put under pressure here by Morelos. Barkley is putting great pressure on Zabaleta. There are basically no options for them to get out. And because Pep Guardiola wants them to play along the ground, he wants them to pass out of the back. This already showed to me that there was a real weakness, a real vulnerability in City's game. Even Baines is living right up to that wing-back role and pressing deep and putting pressure on Bacary Sagna very early on. Now, where City are good is going forward, and especially on the counter. They're very, very quick. Aguero's done very well to find Kevin De Bruyne, who made a great run out wide. He's spotted his man right in the middle here. Now, in real time, the decision might have been quite difficult to make, but Sterling takes a touch. It goes over the leg of Robles. who clips Sterling. He goes down. You can see here, he is clipped. I do feel that Sterling was very unlucky not to get the decision there. He was certainly fuming. He knew that it was a penalty. Robles got away with one. However, City did have other chances. David Silva had a fantastic chance when he was put through by De Bruyne. So did Sterling again. I think 2 more opportunities that he really should have finished. But Everton took full advantage very soon afterwards, about half an hour mark. I can't cover all the goals, or we'll be here forever. This ball in here is what's worrying Otamendi, who at this moment in time is actually doing very well, keeping close eye on his man Lukaku, who's obviously the main danger man in the middle. Yaya Toure, who's not got the pace to keep up with Morelos. Otamendi, who's basically sensed that danger is coming from there, but has at the same time completely lost the main man. Gael Clichy just stood there, basically. He's kind of covering Coleman, who's actually out wide, but he's not really covering anyone. He's actually completely fucking useless there. John Stone's well out of position. Davies, it's a fantastic ball in here. You can see that Morelos is calling for it. It's brilliantly played into him. Toure does not have the legs to catch up. He's beaten Toure to it, obviously. He's squared it. And over here you can see Otamendi is completely ball watching. He's not even aware of Lukaku being there. As Otamendi turns and tries to face his man and stand him up, Lukaku's taken it first time, side-footed it into the back of the net. But Bravo, you've got to be saving this. You're exactly in the line of sight. There's no excuse whatsoever for him not being able to see this properly. He goes down to his left. He doesn't even get a hand to it. And to me, this guy's got a lot to answer for. There are holes all over the place. They've got a lot of work to do in the transfer market as far as I'm concerned. But Pep Guardiola is being thrown under the bus right now, and perhaps rightly so. What you want from a tactician or from a manager in general is to be able to work with the tools that you've got and show that you can, say, transform a bang average side into a top quality one. Those are things that people are certainly expecting of a man who's got such an incredible record that he's only lost 24 games in his whole career. However, having brought in Stones, who's a kid and needs someone experienced next to him, Sane, who's a kid and doesn't have any experience in the Premier League whatsoever, Jesus, who hasn't even finalised his deal and certainly hasn't played a game yet, Gundogan, who's living on crutches, Bravo, who doesn't seem to be able to save anything whatsoever. Yes, he can pass, but what the fuck is that? Nolito, who's not really even stamped his authority on a first team place. I don't know what people were expecting because he's inherited a mess. Pellegrini struggled in his last season and nothing has really changed as far as I'm concerned, apart from they've added a couple of kids with incredible potential who maybe one day will come good. However, as far as throwing the guy under the bus completely, I think that's laughable. He is a fantastic tactician, Guardiola, who is basically going to have to learn the hard way. He certainly is learning the hard way about how competitive, how physical, and how just very different the Premier League is, and how high expectations that he's come with mean that people want it now. They want immediate results. For people to be already questioning Guardiola is, I think, right. However, for them to be saying that he's useless and doesn't have a clue what he's doing, I think is laughable. Defensively, City looks second rate, but that, as far as I'm concerned, is largely to do with the personnel. Lots of work for Pep Guardiola to do, and lots more for us to talk about in this video, so let's crack straight on because I know that we've spent a long time on that. Now on to the Manchester United against Liverpool game. Another massive game with huge expectations from both sides. United unbeaten in 15 going into the game and with big pressure on them to get a result against their arch rivals. Again, people seem to be throwing the wrong people under the bus here. In fact, focusing so much on who to throw under the bus that they're forgetting who needs commending and congratulating for the incredible work that they're doing. And the first person that I want to congratulate is Jurgen Klopp, who is just pulling incredible things out of the bag with Liverpool. Yes, no European football, which is certainly an advantage, but the incredible high pressing game, the incredible energy, the aggression that these guys are showing is perfect for the Premier League. And there are some major talking points about this. There were shots being fired by both Klopp and Mourinho. Klopp especially going in for Mourinho, saying that he was playing the long ball tactics, that Liverpool dominated the game for 75 minutes, which I have to say is kind of ironic because I thought the game was fairly evenly balanced. In fact, United had fantastic opportunities to go ahead. Paul Pogba missing out, Mkhitaryan missing out. I can't remember who else, but they had fantastic opportunities to go ahead in the game. Or to level it up sooner than they did. But Klopp's record is absolutely brilliant, especially away results against top 6 opposition in the league. That's a draw against Tottenham, a win against Chelsea away from home, a win against City away from home, a win against Arsenal, a draw against Tottenham again, a win against Chelsea again, and now a draw against United. The guy's pulling miracles out of the bag with what is not, as far as I'm concerned, his squad. He has basically inherited, largely anyway, this squad And they are already missing massive players in the likes of Matip and the likes of Mane. People are pointing out all these problems and throwing people under the bus again, like Paul Pogba. Why are we not looking at why Paul Pogba, who has actually been so incredibly efficient over the last few months, who's been so impressive over the last few months, we're now focusing on these dabbing jokes and we're now focusing on fucking hashtags. I don't give a shit about any of that. Paul Pogba is not in charge of his own PR machine. That is being led by his management. That is being led by Manchester United. That is the reason why that price tag was so high. Don't pretend for a second that he's not a fantastically gifted player, because he is. Don't pretend that he wouldn't fucking walk into your side's first 11, because he would. Don't pretend that he's not got incredibly high ceiling of potential, but has just not fulfilled it quite yet. Why do we keep focusing on this midfielder scoring goals? Who gives a shit about him scoring goals? Yes, he should be adding 5 to 10, maybe a couple more goals a season. That should not be the focus of what we are looking at when we're looking at Paul Pogba, and especially in this match. Let's look at the real reason why Pogba didn't perform to the level that people are expecting of him. People are expecting these fucking 40-yard screamers, because in Italy you've got a lot more time on the ball. He's got the ability to pull that out of his locker. Yes, we know that. Why are we not congratulating Klopp for having a fantastic plan on closing the man down, throwing 3 or 4 men on him at any one time? Why are we not praising the likes of Lallana for the incredible tenacity shown, for the fucking way that he ran his fucking socks off in closing Michael Carrick down, for the way that Klopp put 3-4 men on Pogba's loose touch, which admittedly it is sometimes a loose touch, and made him make mistakes, made him lose his cool when he was fucking grabbing Henderson and should have probably been fucking sent off in the corner. Why are we not focusing on the fact that they were hustling the hell out of United's best header of the ball, who they knew they were going to be defensively using to clear anything from Lovren and whatnot? Why are we not looking at the fantastic work that Liverpool were doing in forcing United into making those mistakes? Everyone seems to be focused on Paul Pogba hasn't scored any goals. Paul Pogba's £90 million worth of damage. Fuck off with your bullshit and focus on what's actually been done well. And in this game in particular, Liverpool were brilliant at what they do best, and that is giving you no space, no time on the ball, not letting you pass it out the back, and forcing you into doing what ironically Klopp had to do at Dortmund when he played against Pep Guardiola's tiki-taka passing, always keeping possession of the ball. What did he do? He started playing a fucking long ball. Wake the fuck up, see what's actually going on, and start praising the right people. They couldn't play it out the back calmly, so that they were forced to play in the long ball. And so what? Tactically, Mourinho is not an idiot either. He's a masterpiece of a manager. He has switched it on his head. He has realised that he's got to bypass that midfield because they're not having any joy. And he's got to throw in a big man, where everyone, including Rio Ferdinand, the tactical fucking masterclass, Rio Ferdinand is calling for Rashford online. I'm saying, oh, Rashford's got to come on. Why isn't Rashford coming on? Let's get Rashford on. Fuck off, Rashford. Who's been United's most important player over the last 2 or 3 seasons? Wake the fuck up. It's Marouane fucking Fellaini. Yes, he can play at the back. Yes, he can play in the middle. And yes, he's got a job to do up front. Throw it into him and Zlatan up top, and boom, you've now got a second ball that you can fight for, and you're much more likely to win it higher up the field. And that way, you're much more direct, and eventually it paid off. Zlatan Ibrahimovic deserves a fucking round of applause as well, because the guy is absolutely unstoppable. 35 years old, who gives a fuck how old you are? Age is a number, and he's physically a prime specimen. One of the best big men ever to have done it. He's won it all over the world. Anywhere he goes, he wins. He's a natural, true-born winner. And I don't want to focus too much on this game. I've got to move on to other topics because I know that we've spent a lot of time in detail. However, I hope that you can see that you need to have a little bit more detailed analysis before making these fucking judgments where you're seeing all over online, which is just boring the hell out of me. Personally, I thought a draw was a fair result. If anything, because United didn't take advantage of plenty of chances that they had, Paul Pogba being one of them with that left-footed shot that he really pulled wide, shockingly. And he does have some things that he needs to improve in his game, without question. I think that first touch is still a little bit dodgy. I think the fact that he always feels the need to do something extra is slightly unnecessary. And Paul Pogba needs to realise as well that this isn't a showmanship. We don't need skills all the time. We don't need that little bit of magic all the time. Just do the simple things well, my son, and you will be a success, because physically you're a level ahead, right? The way that he can see the game with the long passes that he's able to ping as well means he's on another level. he can potentially be one of the best out there. However, there's still a lot of work to do, and you have to remember that United have kind of eased their way in this season and have only really found a real role that he's supposed to play of late. It's not been a thing that's been going since the beginning, so there's still time to make that up. They are 16 games unbeaten and shouldn't be too deflated by this, which was actually quite a good result, because Liverpool fans especially will feel very disappointed that they didn't come away with 3 points here. Another fantastic game. I do think it was very scrappy and not quite as entertaining as the Everton City game. However, still, as far as the Premier League goes, the competitiveness shown in this game was just another fantastic example of how good the Premier League is at times. Maybe not in quality, but in how level all these teams in and around the top 6 and 7 are, and how anyone on their day can beat anyone else. Let's move on. Right, then our next story concerns Arsenal and Swansea, I guess. We'll start this off by saying that Swansea started very well. They were actually probably the more impressive side after the first 20-25 minutes. And they showed signs at the beginning of developing nicely under Clement. I think it's very early doors yet. Makelele hasn't obviously had an impact yet. And man for man, Arsenal are a better side. There's just no denying that. One of the most drastic things, or one of the most poignant things that I took from the game was the reaction of Alexis Sanchez when he was taken off. And I've got to say that, one, it's fucking annoying seeing a guy with this much ability giving the press ammunition to be able to cause a rift between him and the club. And it's obvious that he's going to be attracting offers from the likes of China, who are investing incredible amounts of money in the game right now. And his behaviour off the field, when he's gone onto the sidelines and pulled the jacket over his head, sitting on the floor, not talking to anyone, to me, it's fucking outrageous. I think that it's ridiculous that a player who is doing so well already, that sees his team up by 4 goals already, is sulking on the sidelines. Alexis, you need to have a word with yourself. I understand, however, that there are possibly other reasons why he may be so pissed off, why there are other reasons that his mind may well be elsewhere. And one of those reasons is that he has recently pled guilty to defrauding Spanish tax authorities of almost €1 million by concealing part, at least, of what he earned from image rights during his time at Barcelona. By using companies set up in Chile and Malta, defrauding authorities of €500,000 in 2012 and nearly €400,000 in 2013. And he may not actually have to stand trial, because his defence team are negotiating a fine with the Spanish tax authorities as we speak, on top of what he's already paid back, which is basically €1 million. Now, obviously, Messi was found guilty last year of 3 counts of tax fraud. He was fined and handed a 21-month suspended prison sentence, of which he's never going to serve a day. Mascherano had a similar thing going on. He was fined as well, given a 1-year suspended prison sentence. And I'm sure that Alexis Sanchez pleaded guilty because he is looking for a similar outcome. Public figures like these are very rarely ever going to serve a day behind bars. However, this may well be what's on his mind. And it may well be someone is talking in his ear and saying, do you know what, lad? We've got a lot of money to pay back here. You really do have options. You are being thrown a lot of money, or at least the option of taking a lot of money from the likes of China or other clubs around the world, where it's quite likely that you may well win more trophies than you would at Arsenal. Because Alexis Sanchez being taken off with 10 minutes to go when your team is 4-0 up, or 15 minutes to go when your team is 4-0 up, to me, as a team player, that shouldn't be an issue. But I think what he's going to have in the back of his mind is that, one, he's actually got the very realistic possibility of being top scorer in the Premier League this season. That may well be on his mind, because it will not only increase the power from which he can negotiate a new deal with Arsenal for, but also increases the attractiveness of bringing a player like that to any club around Europe. He would also probably be more likely to win more trophies at the likes of Juventus. And there is just no doubt in my mind that people like Manchester City will be all over, or Chelsea will be all over a player like this if Arsenal aren't going to offer him the right deal. Whether or not he's going to leave is another thing entirely. I'm sure that he is very happy and comfortable at Arsenal, but being comfortable isn't something that really strikes me that Alexis Sanchez wants to be. He is a winner, he is a workhorse, he is not going to be satisfied with coming second and third for too much longer. You can fucking guarantee that. That may well be part of the reason, however. I do think that his behaviour was just unacceptable, that he hasn't done Arsene Wenger any favours by behaving like that, and he is certainly going to give the media more ammunition, more reason to be writing these ridiculous headlines and causing a rift between him, his teammates and the club. And I don't think that it's the right way to do things. He's acting so fucking off right now, throwing his toys out of the pram too much for my liking. And yes, you can say that he's a winner and he wants to do the best, and his attention is always going to be focused on being number one. He's never going to be satisfied with second best. But does that give you any right to be throwing your gloves on the floor and sulking off without clapping the fans? Does that give you any right to be disrespecting your manager like the way that he did? Does that give you any right to be putting the attention on him on the sidelines when the attention should be on a fantastic performance against Swansea? I don't know. I'm in two minds as to where I stand about it right now, I'll be honest with you, because whilst I back the guy and I want Arsenal to have top class players, I also want team players who realise that, yes, we want to bring more players of his ilk, of his quality on board so that we can help him to achieve what he wants to achieve. We all want to fucking win the Liga, Alexis, but that's not the way to do things. Quickly covering La Liga, where Sevilla have moved up to second in the table after a 2-1 win against Real Madrid, with Stefan Jovetic getting his second goal in 2 games and just proving to be another incredibly adept signing by Sampaoli, who's put together a fantastic squad with the likes of Nzonzi, looking like one of the best midfielders in the league. Ben Yedder, who just looks like one of the most incredible bargains ever. His movement, to me, is second to none. His finishing is absolutely clinical. His touch is like a dream. He has got the agility to go round a man with both feet. And yeah, it's really working out there. Samir Nasri having a resurgence of his career. Vieto's chipped in with 6 or so goals. The goalkeeper's been top quality in the fact that he's been able to keep Sirigu out of the starting lineup for so long. Just very impressive from front to back, these guys. And I've been very impressed with the tactical prowess of the Chilean manager, who to me would be one of the first names in the hat as far as a successor to Arsene Wenger goes. However, he's doing so well at Sevilla, I'm not sure why he would even consider coming to a Premier League club. They have closed the gap to 1 point. Admittedly, Real Madrid do have a game in hand, but it's the first time that Real Madrid have lost this season. They have ended that incredible run of 40 games unbeaten for Zinedine Zidane, and Barcelona now just 2 points behind Real Madrid, who admittedly do have that game in hand. But it's very tight to the top again in La Liga. Tactically, look, just a level ahead of a lot of other clubs in La Liga right now. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how far this guy can take things. A very impressive manager who uses some really innovative tactics, some really forward-thinking stuff as far as the shape of the side goes. Let's move on to Juventus, who yesterday unveiled a new logo that they're going to be using from the 17-18 season. And I am a little bit lost by this, I'm not going to lie. It's kind of demoralising seeing this. History is out of the window, and I know that nothing lasts forever. We say this a lot. Change is inevitable. Things do happen that move on with time, and progression is inevitable. It's necessary. But this is another signal for me, another sign that we are living in a plastic generation. I don't know if you can see behind me, but this is an old Arsenal logo. There was actually another Arsenal logo after this, which involves a badge and lots of gold frilly stuff, and the slogan of the club as well. There's just one thing that I want you to notice in particular about this. This is the new Arsenal logo, and you can clearly see that the cannon is pointed in the opposite direction. I really don't like this logo, and I'll make no qualms about saying that. I find it to be very basic, very simplistic, and a real indicator of the times that we are living in. This is the lack of history, this is the unimportance of tradition, and Juventus have just gone on to prove that that is the time, these are the times that we're living in right now, by employing what I consider to be a fucking ridiculously basic logo. And whilst I understand the need to move on, to go, as Arsenal put it, forward, I actually consider this to be a real backward step. And a real sign that profitability, marketability, getting all the kids on board so that they buy new shirts and new merchandise is really the most important thing to a lot of people behind these clubs right now. Say you score for Juventus, which is for so many players a dream. So many kids growing up is a dream of like kissing the badge. When you kiss this new Juventus badge, what are you kissing? What is that that's so close to your heart? What is that? Does it mean anything anymore? What does it mean to me? It means we need to make more money. It means that we need to sell t-shirts. It means that possibly we've had the same badge for too long and people aren't comfortable buying a very similar shirt anymore, that we need the most outlandish, expressive designs ever. And whilst the guy at the press conference was basically saying it took them over a year to design this, I could have fucking drawn that in 3 seconds at 8 years old. And I still would have hoped to come out with something a little bit more detailed, something a little bit more representative of the history of such a great club. Whilst I do understand that change is inevitable and these things are going to happen, it's just really disappointing to see, I have to say. I'm not a fan of the new logo, and over time it may well grow on people, but again, It's the sign of the times to me, and yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts about what you think about it, because I'll give it a 2 out of 10 personally. It looks like a fucking stick man. It's a J with a fucking another J spooning the J. It's laughable that they actually have people who run tens of thousands of pounds and have degrees in design of graphics or whatever the fuck it is, and that is the thing that they came up with. Let's wrap this one up, because I've been talking for quite a while. I hope that you've enjoyed the videos and you realise that this is the Detailed Analysis Hub, the home of unbiased opinion in the footballing world on YouTube. And thank you so much for all the support of late. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you're subscribed already, make sure you stay subscribed. If you are enjoying the videos, make sure you smash the hell out of the like button, especially if you breathe oxygen. But for now, my name's been hughwizzy, and this has been a lot of fun. Until next time, peace.